welcome to a new episode of the Rebel Radio podcast. And we are a new month. Man, this year is rolling by like a fucking freight train, man. I'm like, wow, we're in September already. Like, before I know it, it'd be Halloween decorations and then Christmas decorations. And then bam, fucking 2025, the future, man. And
after this weekend, we'll be a quarter of the way through the month already.
I know, it's wild, crazy. Man. You're fixing, next week will be your birthday pick next week, and you will be a year older, a little closer to 40 there, Matt.
Yeah, man, 38.
Jeez. Yeah, man. You know, you already got the hairdo to go with it, man, with the shaved head. So, you're already halfway there.
This is true. I do it strategically to hide the gray hairs. That way I can say I have less gray hairs on my head than my wife.
But don't let her hear you say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, September's here, and interesting day, man. I came home and I texted you and Long about this, and I saw that Linkin Park was trending. I was like, what's going on? And I had heard rumors this week that they were gonna put out new music, and no one really knew, like, what did that mean? Is it just Mike Shinoda singing? You know, because Chester obviously tragically took his own life a few years ago, and but they announced today that they then the rumor started they had a new singer. No one knew who it was, but it turns out it's Emily Armstrong of the band. I can't remember the name of the band she's in, but
Dead Sarah.
They were doing Dead Sarah. They were doing a live stream today, and I tuned into it, and man, she's pretty good, man. You can't replace Chester. And I saw some people complaining online about she doesn't quite reach the melodies like Chester does, but she can do the screaming part. But I also feel like I felt like she brought her own sound to the melodies. I thought she did a good job with the melodic stuff. I really I think people are grasping at straws, expecting her to sound like Chester, and she doesn't. She has a completely different voice. She's female, and I am
very raspy for
she's
a female.
More raspy, but it works. It kind of works, man. That the new single off the record is really well done, and it's I like it, man. It's cool that that a group like that was mega popular can get past the what happened to them as a band and be willing to go forth and make new music, because I feel like that's what Chester would want, keep playing his songs and go ahead and create new music. And so I was a little bit surprised today. I tuned into that, watched all the rest of it after I tuned in, and I enjoyed it, man. I felt the stream sound was a little flat. I think that was a problem too. They sold tickets to this and sold it as a like a Linkin Park event, but they didn't really tell the fans what it was. And they had the fans meet in a location. They bussed him to the studio lot. And so it feels like it was kind of a thrown together set. The sound sounded a little flat. So maybe that's why maybe people didn't catch on to her voice right away. But it's still a pretty cool event, man, that they did that. And one thing I took away from watching it was the happiness on Mike Shinoda's face. He just was thrilled to be playing in front of a live audience, and the reaction the fans gave, and you almost saw. I thought he almost had tears in his eyes.
He was very peppy and very upbeat. I heard their rendition of "Bleed It Out," and there's a lot of screaming in that that Chester did, and she does those vocals really, really cool. Whenever I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, she's gonna work out.
Yeah. I dig it, man. I will check out the album when it hits and see what she brings to the table on it, man. I think it's good stuff, and they're doing just a small tour to start out, like 6 states across the world, and nothing fancy. And it's a band I never did get to see. I did always want to see them. I've seen a couple of their live DVDs they put out and things like that, and was a fan, man. I always liked Linkin Park, and so it's cool to see them coming back. So that was a cool surprise this week in a rather pedestrious week where not much seems like it's really going on. It's fair to say. It's like that end of summer, like, oh, nothing's happening this week. Okay, I'll just move on to the next week. And a little surprise today with the Linkin Park live stream. But good stuff, man. I dug it. But how has your week been, man?
Man, it feels like it's been just flying. It's been fun though. I feel like with the kids being in school, all of them now, I get more free time during the day, and I've just been playing. My favorite shooter. We'll talk games later, but yeah, it's been fun. Just kind of relaxing this week, not doing much. I paid for my wife and her friend to go see Beetlejuice, and they said it was fun. It was very entertaining. And I haven't seen any other reviews on it, other than just what I've heard from her. But she's usually pretty positive. She wants me to buy the film.
Most reviews I've read have been just say like, it's okay. That's kind of what most reviews say. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Like, okay, if critics are saying it's okay, and you're a Beetlejuice fan, you're probably gonna elevate it more.
There's an interesting thing about Tim Burton, and think about this question for a minute. And don't get me wrong, I love Batman, right?
Yeah.
But has Burton made a great film? Not really. If you really think about it, he's made entertaining films. Did he do
Sleepy Hollow?
Yeah, he's made good films, but has he made a great film? He hasn't made a great film like a James Cameron or a Steven Spielberg has.
No, he doesn't have an Aliens or a Terminator.
No, he's made a good films. I would argue Big Fish is probably his best film and doesn't get enough recognition.
I didn't realize he did Big Fish.
But then for Big Fish, he makes something like Dumbo, which was okay.
Yeah, Dumbo was okay.
And that's the thing about Burton as far as his career goes. He's had a very successful career. He's made a lot of entertaining movies, but he's never made that one great film. I always feel like.
I guess you could say Nightmare Before Christmas.
But he didn't direct that. Remember, he's producer by name.
Yeah, he wrote it. Though.
Batman's probably his greatest film because of what it meant for pop culture.
Batman '89
and Big Fish is probably his best film. So that's the thing about Burton. It's like, and Burton's he's never been one to cash in. That's why he didn't do a third Batman film. So it's interesting that his career lately he hasn't done much. Oh, I'll do a Beetlejuice sequel. It feels like he made that movie to make some money. Hey, every director and star has done it. You think Tom Cruise keeps making Mission Impossible movies because he likes to do his own stunts? Probably, but he also likes to make a lot of fucking money.
Exactly.
Everyone does it. But I might maybe one day I think Beetlejuice is a Warner Bros. Property, so end up on Max here in a few months, and I'll wait and watch it then. And but no, I'm not going to pay for it or no desire to go see it.
Yeah, same here. I'm going to wait until it's streaming. Just like some of my kids have been, pushing me to buy Inside Out 2 or Despicable Me 4, and they want $30 for it.
Well, yeah, and Despicable Me will end up on Peacock because it's Universal, and Inside Out will be on Disney any day now. I agree. But there are some things coming out. I'm going to go see Transformers 1 for sure.
Oh,
and then
something about that. There is a early showing September 14th.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can get advance tickets for it. So some theaters are showing it on that Saturday before, which usually it's just a couple days before. This is like half a week before.
Interesting. I might have to look into that. And then Wyatt, my middle son, informed me that he wants to see The Wild Robot because they read the book in school and he loved it. And he's like, Dad, we have to go see it. It's going to be so good. And I have read early reviews that it is very good. Say it's actually a contender along with Inside Out 2 for Best Animated Feature of the Year.
Wow.
So he wants to see The Wild Robot. And I didn't even know it was on his radar. We had seen the trailer, didn't think much of it, but then he's like, Dad, we've got to go see it. I was like, okay. So I think it comes out more towards the end of the month after Transformers.
It looks fun. It looks like a fun film.
So there's some stuff coming out after a bit of a dry. I haven't been to a movie since Deadpool Wolverine. I wanted to try to go see Alien, but it just hasn't worked out. So I'll wait for it to hit Hulu, Disney Plus, which is fine.
Yeah.
But that said, 2 weeks in a row, I did watch a movie. Can you believe it, Matt?
Holy shit!
I am.
You
Yeah,
watched a
man.
movie?
I watched a movie. I watched The Fall Guy on Peacock.
Oh, cool.
With Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. It's fun. It's a really fun movie. It's don't let one thing I didn't don't let the trailer fool you. It's not quite as action packed as the trailer made it to be, but it still has a lot of action. It's worth watching for Gosling and Blunt. They are really good in this movie and really a lot of chemistry. We already know Gosling and Blunt are both really good actors, but they really shine in this film. Gosling knows exactly what kind of movie he's in. It's kind of a cheesy throwback to the Fall Guy TV series. He's having fun. He's cheesing it up, and he's damn good at it. And Blunt knows what kind of movie she's into, and they both just really pull that off well. And so do all the other actors around them. And I think it's a little quirky. It's a little weird. I think once you get 15 minutes into it, realize, okay, don't take this very seriously. I'm supposed to have fun with this. You'll enjoy it. Because I talked to somebody at work and said they didn't like it because they thought it was too silly. I'm like, it's supposed to be. It's kind of a satire in some ways. And it was fun, man. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Aaron Taylor Johnson's a trip in it also in his part in the movie. It was good. I watched the extended cut and didn't realize I did. So I did feel it was a little long. And I think the regular cut's on Peacock too. And I'm thinking maybe I should watch the regular cut. That was my only thing. I'm like, man, this movie's been going for a while. Then I paused it and I'm like, holy shit, thing's 2.5 hours. No wonder it's going on for a while. It's probably better as a 2-hour film. I don't know how much the shorter cut is and how much they added, but man, it was a good little movie, man. I think I watched that like Saturday morning or something. I woke up and I saw it was on Peacock, and I just watched a movie, and it was good and fun. And I think, man, I think that's all I watched this week. But at least I watched something, because there's been nothing else to watch. There's been no movies or anything, or there's been no news or anything else going on this week. And so, yeah, man, the Fall Guy. I felt like there was something. No, not really. Just YouTube videos and shit like that.
Did you continue on with Terminator?
Not yet, man. I've been meaning to. It's funny. I turned it on the other day, and then one of the kids called me, and I paused it. Then it was like I sat down, I'm like, okay, I'm tired. Forget it. And I don't think I watched it, but I've been meaning to.
Yeah, I watched I did catch the first episode, and I liked it. I like the action, and I like that it takes place before the is it the Tet Offensive or the Dead?
Yeah,
I think it's Tet Offensive. That's the final battle on Skynet before they send Terminator into the past to try and do a Hail Mary and protect themselves. But I like how it basically presumes that they sent Terminators in multiple different spots of the world from the first one. And I do have to continue watching because it does look good. I'm not ready to call it like a 100% on the tomato meter like it suggests, but it is good. I like what I've seen so far. It's got me interested at least. So yeah, we'll see how it continues. I did, we had just watched a Van Damme film, and I made a comment, that I had thought Time Cop was maybe his best film. And so I was like, I rewatched it, and I was like, it's okay, but it's
that's kind of how I feel about the movie we're doing today on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's not as good as I thought it was.
We'll
get to that in a minute.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that maybe at the time, if you take into consideration just when it came out and what it came out against and the era, then, you might be like, okay, if you grade it on a curve, then it's, it probably inflates the score a little bit. But over time, does it hold up, or is it?
That's funny.
Nice
Time Cop over time.
Yeah. Time Cop over time. It's got the chick from Commando in it, the girl that Arnold kind of takes along with him.
Does she get naked in it?
No, but there is naked stuff in it because
I thought there
they have,
was.
like,
Remember?
yeah, it reminds me of Minority Report a lot, just not as good. They're trying to catch a bad guy that's in power and has the ability to, basically attack them on different fronts, and in Minority Report, he can kind of mess with the visions and make it look like someone did something bad. And then in Time Cop, the person that they're after is in a position of power and is like placing himself to be like the next president. And so he alters the past and puts himself in power and like shuts down the time police agency. And so whenever John Claude comes back, they're like, yeah, this place, good thing you came back. This place is shutting down. And he's like, what?
Yeah, I think it was based on a comic book too. And
yeah,
back before they, there was a time. What year did Time Cop come out?
Is that like
I'm looking right now.
97?
94. Yeah, there was
yeah.
The early 90s was a time in which we obviously didn't have the MCU and all that, but there were like a lot of independent comics that were getting picked up. And that's why you had The Crow turned into a comic, Time Cop, Stallone's Judge Dredd. You had these oddball comic books that were being picked up and trying to find success because you had the independent publishers of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was highly successful. Yes. And so they spawned, of course, 3 films and a TV series that was terrible, and then the animated TV series, which was great. So you had a lot of studios were like, you know what, we can make movies out of these things and buy them cheap because these independent comic writers want to make money. They're not making Marvel and DC money. So you had movies like Time Cop and The Crow and Judge Dredd that were picked up by studios to make these films, and they would sometimes get big actors attached to them, like Sylvester Stallone or Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was a big actor at the time. And but they weren't always successful like The Crow was, or like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were. They were sometimes unsuccessful, like Time Cop and Judge Dredd, which weren't like box office bombs, but they weren't extremely successful. And you went through that era before the era that we're in now. You did have Batman was successful in the late 80s, early 90s, but nothing like the comic book boom we have seen since, I would argue since 2000, since the year 2000 when X-Men came out.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone wants to
Spider-Man.
Everyone wants to say this with the MCU in 2008. No, I'll go back before that. I think with X-Men and Spider-Man and Batman Begins, and that's when this era began. This 24-year renaissance we're in of comic book films, but there was a time where independent comics like Time Cop got made into movies, and they weren't very good.
Nope. But yeah, it reminds me a lot of Minority Report. There's even a spot where the nudity comes in a form of where a guy is using a VR technology set to experience like a sexual experience. And you see that in Minority Report when John is trying to run away and get away from the authorities, and he runs through one of these virtual places, and one of the guys is having a little fun virtually, it looks like. So a lot of similarities, but yeah, and part of me was like, man, what if we covered this? We did a Jan Claude Van Damuary, and had a Jean Claude month, call it Jan, like instead of John, Jan for January, Jan Claude Van Damuary. And just have like blood sport, sudden death.
Dude, I don't knock Sudden Death. I like that movie.
Yeah,
it's dumb as hell, but I like it.
Dude, he has some decent films out there.
Yeah,
I don't know if you could make a whole month. You could probably
fights like the mascot. That shit's fucking yes. Yeah. And the hockey game, if it ends at the last minute, he's killing the bad guy. It's like Con Air Light. It's so over the top and stupid that you can't stop fucking watching Sudden Death.
It is missing that. Was it Martina McBride who sings the main song to Con Air?
How do so. And what's and the cool like thing is like Sudden Death is not afraid to be a straight up diehard clone. It's Die Hard in the hockey arena, and it knows it is, and it doesn't give a fuck that it is.
Die Hard in a hockey arena. We talked about that. Where all these Die Hard movies that came out. Yeah. That was one of them. But yeah, man. Maybe one of these days we'll give people a week or two of Van Damme.
No, we won't. Yeah. We might just do a random Van Damme movie.
Yeah, we'll probably be. Yeah, he just doesn't have enough out there, I think, for us to give a whole month.
Bad action stars month.
Yeah,
and do a Steven Seagal.
Oh yeah, Seagal. What's Dolph Lundgren? Do like Red Scorpion from Dolph Lundgren. Yeah.
Well, like I wonder, like like the Scott Adkins ninja movies, which I actually kind of like.
Dude, I like. Yeah, I like.
It's
them.
like, can you imagine if those had came out in the 80s and 90s? They probably would have been pretty successful because there was a period where there was a period where those kind of movies worked.
Yeah, like they had ninja movies where it was like the ninja was like a supernatural.
I have the Atkins movie. I own the Atkins movies on Blu-ray. There was two of them for like $5. Both part 1 and part 2 came on the same Blu-ray. So
the martial arts in them are good.
Yeah, I own those because I kind of like them. Yeah.
The story, maybe it's a little off, but it's like the action is solid, man. The stunts are great. Just like in this film, that we're going to talk about today. They were doing their own stunts, But yeah, but that's everything. That's everything that I checked out. I was going to try. I was going to punish myself, and I thought about renting Annihilation since I don't think it's streaming anywhere. But I was like, no, I can't do that to myself. I'll never get that time back.
It's terrible. Yeah. But that brings us to today's movie. Let's talk today's film. So we decided to go back and talk 1995, the original Mortal Kombat.
Paul S. Anderson, baby.
Yes, Paul. Yes, not the Paul Anderson that made Oscar-winning films like There Will Be Blood. The other Paul Anderson who makes movies.
W.S. Anderson.
W.S. Anderson makes Resident Evil and Mortal Kombat. And
he did do Event Horizon. Event Horizon wasn't bad.
No, it's not bad. Yeah. Actually, Event Horizon, there's been a couple of times where it's almost appeared on the show. And it may still one day because I've thought about it. I'm like, but Event Horizon and this movie are probably his two best films.
And there's a correlation with that.
Did we do Resident Evil on the show, or did we do it on Patreon?
We did it on the show.
Okay.
You just can't give this guy too big of a budget. You give him too big of a budget, it doesn't work. You have to keep him, and that's why studios use him so much. You've probably seen these Paul W.S. Anderson movies come out, and you're like, how is this guy getting work? It's because if the studio gives him a small budget, he makes a lot out of it, and it makes
money. Coolest fucking thing about Paul W.S. Anderson, if you ever see him in interviews, the dude is a fanboy. He's one of us, man. He seems like the coolest guy. When I see him in interviews, like you want to hang out with him and talk movies. He's a fan, man, and that's what's cool. And I'll give him that kind of credit. Maybe he's not the best director, maybe he doesn't make the best movies, but man, his sole goal is to entertain you, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah,
that he does that, and one thing I can say about 1995 Mortal Kombat is it's entertaining. It's been years since I've watched this, and watching it this week, I actually finished it this afternoon because I watched like the first hour of it, and I'm like, shit, I never finished it. So I came home this afternoon. I finished it the last 35 minutes or whatever. Which is weird because in my mind, I thought I had finished it. And I was like, wait, I didn't finish the movie for this week. But that said, this doesn't hold up well. That's my biggest thing. There's things
memories.
There's things I really like in it. There's things that it gets a lot right that makes you feel like you're watching a Mortal Kombat movie based on the game. But there's also a lot that just like make sure that what did he just say that? Did they just do that? There's a lot of
dialogue.
The plot is really simple. It's the Warriors of Earthrealm, and what's the name of the other realm?
Oh shit.
Shang Tsung's realm.
Basically the Emperor's realm.
They fight to take over the earth in Mortal Kombat. So they're both gathering their troops and they bring them to this tournament. And that's basically what happens. They have this tournament of warriors, and some are supernatural and some are well, they all have sort of supernatural kind of powers, even the Earth Warriors, and they battle for fighting, and it's not really explained very well. Which one thing I can appreciate about the Mortal Kombat from a couple of years ago is it explains that better as to why what Mortal Kombat is, and I've actually liked the new one a lot more than I did the first time I watched it. I watched it again since then, and I actually really like it, and kind of looking forward to the sequel. But this one, so this one really simplifies the plot. It introduces Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, Jax, Johnny Cage as the good guys, and then we have the bad guys. They went with Mortal Kombat 1, so we didn't get any of the robots or really crazy characters from the other games. So we got Shang Tsung, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Kano, and the big guy with 4 arms, Goro, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
So we got the basic bad guys from the first game in this one, and for various reasons they meet in fights that don't always make sense or what's going on. We also have Raiden, played by Christopher Lambert, who of Highlander fame, and he doesn't give a well. I love Christopher Lambert, but he doesn't give a fuck that he's in this movie.
No, he doesn't.
He's either stoned the whole time or he's just reading his lines because he's getting paid. He was the highest paid.
Baby.
He was the highest paid actor on this movie, and he's just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, okay. Well, we're gonna say that stupid line. I'll fucking say it. He really doesn't give a shit that he's making a movie. He's not even trying. He's just throwing out his lines. And God bless you, Connor McLeod, for completely not giving a fuck in this movie.
Yes.
Where then you have like the guys playing Liu Kang. He's really trying hard because he feels like this is his big break. And he never really did anything else after this movie. But at the time, he's
for like Sonya, Bridget
was, well, she already had a cover career going. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, and the guy who played Kano, didn't he pass away a few years ago? I think I remember reading that.
Maybe so.
Yeah, I think so.
I did not look into that, but yeah, he looks familiar. He does a good job of playing a scoundrel that you love to hate.
And then I believe, if I remember correctly, they used stunt actors for like Scorpion, Sub-Zero. So since they didn't have any lines, they were just like martial arts stunt actors.
Mm-hmm.
And Robin Shaw played Liu Kang. Lyndon Ashby.
Chris something was Scorpion. The guy who played Johnny Cage, he was more of a TV actor.
Yeah, Trevor Goddard, he was 40. He passed away a long time ago in 2003.
Oh, shit.
The guy played Kano. Okay. Yeah, I thought he had. Yeah, see, these are just stunt actors, I think, playing Scorpion, Sub-Zero. Now, to Lisa Soto, she had a little bit of a career in B movies and things like that. She was in License to Kill. She was in the James Bond film. So she played Kalina. So she had a little bit of a career. But most of these people we never saw again after this movie. And probably for good reasons, because none of them could really act their way out of a box. But
yeah. The guy who played Reptile showed up as a crew member, I guess a random extra in Alita Battle Angel.
Oh, cool.
I didn't realize that. I remember seeing
Frank Welker did the voice of Shao Kahn. I mean, that's Megatron. So
yeah, he also and Mr. Claw, right? He did Mr. Claw, and he did the Devil in Spawn. That voice is very, very noticeable. You hear that voice, you're like, okay, which one of these characters is it? I mean, it's all of them. Friggin' Inspector Gadget, and everything we just mentioned. But yeah, this I remember seeing Reptile pop up and just fanboying whenever I'm like, oh my god, it's Reptile. But yeah, this movie it doesn't give you a clear, like, it starts off as like, okay, it's a tournament, but it follows as such, where the match is started by Shang Tsung, and but then there's some others where they just start fighting randomly. There's no tournament aspect to it, so it just randomly fights.
Well, let's do that. So let's talk about let's do the good first. What's the good in this movie?
Soundtrack. The
soundtrack. The video game nods. I think Scorpion and Sub-Zero are freaking badass in this. They're cool.
They are.
I kind of like the cheesiness of Shang Tsung saying stuff like "finish him" and "flawless victory." It kind of works. It's cheesy,
mine.
but Carrie, what's the actor's name? Carrie. He's been around for years. He does a good job in delivering the lines.
Hiroki Tagawa.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. He makes you believe in the character. I think he can tell these lines are cheesy, but he's delivered. And that's the thing. He delivers his lines with a purpose and meaning, where Christopher Lambert knows these lines are fucking terrible. And again, he doesn't give a fuck. Lambert's just like, whatever, I'm getting paid. So I kind of like some of that. I think the set designs, for the most part, are pretty well done, even though cheaply done. They're cheaply done. They look cheap, but I also think that's a product of the time, being 1995. Man, this movie's almost 30 years old. That's fucking wild.
There's some cheesy comedy that works. The nut punch to Gordo is cheesy fun. The part
his animatronics, I feel like the animatronics seem off because we shouldn't have animatronics in 1995, because at this point we've already had Jurassic Park and Terminator 2.
Yeah.
So it feels a little weird. Like if this was 1985, okay, but 1995, it's like, couldn't you spend a little money to make him look better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah. What else? There's a part where Sub-Zero is first fighting, and there's a guy that comes out, and it's kind of like that scene in Lost Ark where the guy comes out, does a bunch of martial arts, and then this guy just launches himself at Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero just turns him into ice. Yeah. And he just crushes all over the place. That's pretty funny to me. But yeah, there's some humor in here that works.
Yeah. Well, that's where all the CGI went, to make the scorpion hand, where his hand opens up and the scorpion thing comes out and it shoots. And I think it's cool. It's like, get over here. It's like right out of the game. And then
get down here.
Yeah. And then the flaming skull head that comes out of Scorpion, and tries to set him on fire like out of the video game. So that's where all your CGI money was. So poor Goro had to be a guy in a animatronic suit type thing. So because you spent all your money on that, and the backgrounds and the sets, which I imagine it looks to me like they used a lot of matte paintings. They did the old school matte paintings and stuff with this movie for the
that's what it looks like.
Nether Realm. Isn't the Nether Realm? Isn't that what the other world is called?
Maybe it's Nether Realm.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm not down with all my Mortal Kombat lingo, I have played the game and things, and I've played a few of the games over the years, but don't remember all the actual details of everything it's called. So that's some of the good, I thought. Anything I'm missing on some of the good, other than the Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and the choreography? Most of the fights are pretty solid. I can't really knock anything on as far as the fights go. I think they're well done.
I mean, Bridget.
Robin Shaw was a martial artist, and I think he helped with a lot of the choreography on the film.
Yeah, Bridget, she insisted on not having a stunt double, and she dislocated her shoulder in one of the fight scenes, and they just popped it back in, and she kept up and kept going. Didn't see a doctor after that, which pretty tough. She plays a tough chick, and she was a tough chick on set. Just like we saw in Last Action Hero, she played Arnold's daughter, and she played a different role in Billy Madison. She was the hot teacher, where if he would have gotten that answer right, damn it, she would have taken her shirt off, but it didn't work.
Nope.
He didn't know the Spanish Armada.
So now some of the bad in this. Very loose plot. Poor special effects at times, which again, if this was 85, I could get, but this is a 1995 film based on a major video game franchise, and even for that time, I think it's inexcusable. It should have been better. The film should have looked better. I think
it looked like bad rotoscope at times.
Yeah, New Line Cinema should have put a little more money into this. I think in 1995 it could have looked much better. Some of the acting is so across the board. Some are very good, like Shang Tsung and Robin Chow, who plays Liu Kang. I think they're very good. Bridget's fine, but then the guy who plays Johnny Cage is notoriously terrible at times. The guy who plays Kano is good because he hams it up and has a good time. But then Christopher Lambert, again, doesn't give a fuck. He's terrible. The plot conveniences to drive this movie forward are just a bit too convenient at times. So there's some things like that hold the film back from being, because you really. My thing is like watching Mortal Kombat and even the new one. This story that Ed Boon has created, the creator of Mortal Kombat, is good enough that, man, if you have the right director and the right martial artist, you could make a fucking action classic, Matt. You could, but you haven't found that director to do that. And back in 1995, even, you could have made that classic, but you didn't, man. New Line chose to keep the budget down, chose to keep a director that would stay in on budget, and didn't believe in the film. And to their credit, though, video game films had not been. I mean, you had Super Mario Brothers, which was terrible.
Yeah, Street Fighter.
But yeah, and so you didn't have that success to make them successful. And even now in 2024, Mario Brothers was successful, but it was animated.
Yeah.
He's still, and then The Last of Us is successful, but it's television format, 10 episodes. The latest Mortal Kombat movie was fairly successful, but they chose to go rated R and made it a little bit more bloodier, so you attracted older audiences. But you still, now 20, 30 years later, we still don't have that video game movie masterpiece yet.
No.
And maybe one day we'll get it, maybe we won't. But I feel like Mortal Kombat could be that if it's ever done properly.
I think they just try and overcomplicate things sometimes. It's like Double Dragon. All it is they take the girl, they leave with the girl, and Billy, and I forget the other Billy, and I forget Jason. Crap.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, but they have to go save her. But instead, they make this crazy thing about an amulet and everything, and it's like, well, why? It's very simple.
Well, they even did that.
Yeah,
they even did that in the Mario Brothers, even the animated film. Mario is about him rescuing Princess Peach. Why do they have this complicated subplot where Mario has to prove himself to Princess Peach with this silly game and all this, and he has to go fight Donkey Kong to get permission and all this stuff? Just keep it very simple. Bowser catches Peach, Mario has to rescue her. That's it. Then you have the shenanigans happen throughout the movie where he runs into Donkey Kong. He has to go down the Rainbow Road to catch Princess Peach. That's all he had to do. All the other stuff was really unnecessary in that movie. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Mario Brothers, but most of it could have been so much more simplified and been just as good. And don't even get me started on Resident Evil. You do a horror film.
Still can't get it right.
You do a horror film in a mansion. That's easy.
Easy.
But then they have to go do all this Umbrella Corps stuff and complicate it. And Umbrella Corps should have been a background character in the first film, and then you expand upon that into the second film.
Because you only see a little bit of it in the first in the first video game, anyways. Right. It's not explored more until the second film.
Yeah, exactly.
Or second.
But these video games have fantastic plots. So a lot of these games, but again, they overcomplicate them for games. And that's why Hideo Kojima he has shot Metal Gear Solid, but he's never let his studio do it because he feels like no one can do it properly. And that's why we have not. It's amazing we haven't had a Metal Gear Solid film after all these years, but it's because he will not let the property go lightly. That's why Nintendo's very protective of their properties. That's why we've never had a Legend of Zelda film. That's why it took them 40 years to get a Mario Brothers film that was well received. Now I hear rumors of a Ghost of Tsushima movie being made. Obviously we have the Last of Us success. I'd like to see more games take that approach, doing episodic television work, because I think it would work better.
They never tried to do anything with Onimusha. I know it's an older game. We're talking games, but it was one of my favorite samurai games. It played, the motion was similar to Resident Evil. But yeah, you fought all these demons, and you had like the friggin' lightning sword and stuff like that. And it was, man, so many cool ideas that just it's just like could have been slam dunks.
The Uncharted games are purely cinematic. The plot's right there. Why did you go and make Nathan Drake a younger version where he first meets? I can't think of his mentor's name, and you hire Mark Wahlberg, who doesn't even look like the character. Oh, at least Tom Holland did kind of look like a young Nathan Drake. Mark Wahlberg looks nothing like the guy in the fucking games. It was just like, who at the movie studio thought that was a good idea? It's like, no, just make Uncharted into a fucking movie. It's all you had to do. It's Indiana Jones for the modern age, and it would have been the games are fucking awesome. You could have made a fucking awesome movie, but no, it's like, but to give Mortal Kombat credit, it started it. It was the first video game movie to have some success.
Yes.
Still one of the more successful video game movies, of even 20, 30 years later. And it did its best. It did a lot of things right. It made you feel like you were watching the video game come to life. I think that's where it gets it right the most, is you watch this movie and you undoubtedly know you're watching a Mortal Kombat movie.
Made $100 million worldwide profit.
See,
minus the 20 million it took to make.
Yeah. So, it did a lot of things right. Like I said, you could turn on Street Fighter and maybe not know you're watching a Street Fighter movie if you just walked into it in 5 minutes, you're like, okay, what am I watching? But you can walk in Mortal Kombat into someone's room and they're watching it, and in 5 minutes you're watching a Mortal Kombat movie. Yeah. So I think this did a lot of things right like that, and it's entertaining. And because of Mortal Kombat, we do have other video game movies and adaptions. And if it wasn't successful, Hollywood might have said, no, we're not doing any more of those. So we give a lot of credit for that. And just don't watch Annihilation. It's worse than the turd in the toilet that you just left. I mean, it's a bad movie.
It really is. They only bring back Liu Kang and Katana's character as far as like the original actors.
Right. Everyone else is replaced.
Yeah, everybody else is replaced. And then like you have Johnny Cage just die in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see Carl Urban as Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 2.
I bet he'll do good.
Oh yeah, I mean it's Carl Urban. Yeah. So this got us thinking. It's been a bit since we've done a top 5. So we thought we would give people our top 5 favorite video games of all time. And my list is interesting. I have a good mix on here. I don't really have a number 5, and I'll explain why. At number 5, I just basically put MLB The Show or NCAA football. And I know they come out every year. I know this. But I can't not put them on the list because I play them every year. I don't always buy them every year. Sometimes I'll wait every other year to get an updated version. But baseball and college football have been such a steady diet in my video game history over the last 30 years that I'd be remiss to not put them on my list. Could I have put Mario Brothers on this spot? Could I have put Zelda? Could I put other games I really enjoy? Yeah. But most times someone asks me, what are you playing lately? Oh, I'm probably like this week, MLB The Show 24 was a free game this month for PS Plus. That's a great free game. The game just came out in March. So I've been playing MLB The Show 24 all week. And then the last few weeks, as you know, I've been playing a lot of college football since it came out. So it's hard for me not to put these on my list somewhere because they are such an important part of my video game history. That's playing baseball and football on my PlayStation or my Xbox, or whatever I owned at the time.
Yeah, no, I definitely based my list off of what I remember from my childhood and what I've played up until now. And at number 5, I've got Diablo, and you could just basically include the whole series. When this game came out on PlayStation, me and my cousin literally played this game for 2 days straight, trying to get to the bottom of hell and defeat Diablo. And then
I remember reading that used to piss a lot of people off.
Yes, dude. I mean, you needed 2 people. It was damn near impossible to do it by yourself. So I would always pick the rogue, and my cousin would be the warrior. He'd be the tank. He would just go into these like hordes of demons and start tanking away, and I would just try and do some damage, from a distance, and get with the bow or the crossbow and do what I could. But yeah, the rogue and the warrior and barbarian, it's changed roles now, from 2 to 3 to 4, and 4 is still good. I had fun playing 4. And Lilith is the demon in 4. She's the daughter of Mephisto. But yeah, it all started with Diablo. And it's a very iconic Blizzard game. Maybe their best.
At number 4, I mean, I'd be crazy to not have a Star Wars game on my list. And that's Shadows of the Empire, man. This is still one of my all-time favorite Star Wars games. I love Shadows of the Empire. I loved how it
Dash Rendar
fit between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi and told us the story of what happened. And I bought into it, man. I read the book, I bought the comics, I bought the video game. You know, it was that multimedia event, everything but the movie. It was just
I had the walkthrough. I remember buying the walkthrough so I could figure out how to beat IG-88.
To me, it was just such a fucking cool time in Star Wars lore to have this multimedia event without the film. And I always thought one day it'd be cool to have like an animated Shadows of the Empire movie or something. But
Swoop Bite.
Love that game. If it ever became available for a classic on one of the systems, I'd fucking buy it in a second. I know I get emulators and things like that out there, but I'd like to have a nice working copy one day. But or I mean, my dream would be a remaster version of Shadows of the Empire. I think I'd fucking come in my pants right there or something. You know, I mean, that's just like, you know, I that would be incredible. I don't think it'll ever happen, but it would be fucking awesome. But
Hell
Star
yeah,
Wars
dude.
Shadows of the Empire, just one of the best fucking games I ever played.
Yeah, man. That's a good one. Number 4 for me, I've got the classic shooter, 007 GoldenEye. And I remember playing this and many
overrated.
Yeah, I think, you know, this is what got people like into, you know, really, really into shooters, at least my generation. And I remember, oh, you're looking at my screen. Don't look at my screen. You know,
people still do that.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I can't play Call of Duty or anything or Battlefront without Wyatt because he's like, I know where you are, Dad. I'm like, well, fuck, why am I playing this?
Like, all right, let's meet up then. Let's meet up in the open like the old West cowboys used to do it, and just shoot at each other. Yeah, I'm right there with you. My son does the same thing, Luke. Ugh. No honor amongst thieves. Yeah. But that's me, GoldenEye.
At number 3, this is the newest game I have on my list that I just played last year, and I really fell in love with this game. And that was I just mentioned that there's talks about a movie version of this, and that's Ghost of Tsushima. I really fell in love with this game, man. I was putting hours into it. I didn't 100% it, but man, I'm probably close. I was doing all the side quests. I'm still got side quests I can get on there and do if I wanted. All the DLC that came out. Just such a great story told in the samurai era. Amazing sword action. Just man, this game. I highly recommend it, man. I know it's unfortunately, Matt, it's a PlayStation exclusive, so you're screwed. You know, but such a fucking great game, man. That kind of, you know, it's funny. I bought it and I hadn't played it. It sat on my shelf. And I finally played it last year. And it was either last year or early this year. I don't remember exactly, but man, just loved that game, man. And it was I spent a lot of hours on it, but I really, really liked it a lot. It's probably the most hours I spent on a non-sports game since my number 1 game, which will be up here in a little bit.
Nice. Yeah. For me, I'm going to go back to the 90s, man. And I'm going to have number 3, Zelda Ocarina of Time. I love the storyline. I like that, you know, you had to go from place to place, learn different skills, learn different songs, summon different things, and beat Ganondorf at the end and save the day, go through time and become the hero of time. And, you know, we talked about a cool soundtrack today. There's a lot of catchy tunes in Zelda Ocarina of Time. Probably, you know, one of the best Zelda games out there.
Yeah, very popular game. And number 2, man, I have the greatest stealth action game ever made, and that's Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed the sequels too, but I always go back to the OG, the original, and PlayStation 1, man. You know, I know there's remakes out available of it, or remasters, where they're called, and maybe one day I'll get around to buying one of those remasters. But it was the first game that I think I remember playing where the action and the story and the way you snuck around felt cinematic. You know, it was
it's very tense.
Yes, very. You can't make a move, you get caught. You know, this and that. Just a fun game, man. And now, like Metal Gear 4 and 5, some of these newer ones, they're really hard and like not as enjoyable. Where the original Metal Gear Solid was like, it was hard, it was intense, but yet you could do it, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the fact that series got harder. I'm like, this is not fair. I don't like it. It pissed me off.
No, it was already hard enough.
But the Adventures of Solid Snake in that first Metal Gear Solid was fucking phenomenal.
And Revolver Ocelot.
Mm-hmm.
That classic revolver scene with both dual revolvers just spinning them like crazy. you had some bad guys, and then the ninja you had to fight that
Yep.
would stealth and then just come out of nowhere.
And it was one of the first games I remember where it wasn't just shoot the bad guy, you win. You had to figure out how to beat them. Like there was one guy you had to make sure I think you had to make sure that something blew up in front of him. There were certain tricks you had to figure out. And that was kind of a new thing,
Yeah.
To figure out how to beat these bad guys. So it was definitely a classic.
That is a classic. That's a good one. My number 2, it's a Capcom game that has also been remastered, and that is Resident Evil 2. Leon Kennedy, rookie cop, first day on the job, zombie apocalypse from the Umbrella Corporation. They would go on to remaster it and bring back not only William Birkin, but the Tyrant, aka Mr. X. Hasn't
it been remastered twice? Because they remastered for the GameCube, and then they remastered again for next gens. Yeah,
you're right.
It's one of the few games that's been remastered twice. Because I remember I had the GameCube remaster, and yeah, I remember I had the GameCube remaster, and I think they remastered again for the next gen systems.
But yeah, I had fun playing the remake. It was I even played like a little clip of I Twitch streamed. I think that was one things I Twitch streamed with Leon. But I had already beaten the game once, so I had earned the Infinity Ammo MP5A5, and if I wanted to, I could get the rocket launcher too, and use the rocket launcher against Mr. X. But I like how it's a game of kind of like Metal Gear Solid. You had to figure things out. And not necessarily about how to kill a bad guy, but just how to get through these puzzles and these mysteries and how to unlock this. And, you had to get different keys, and there were riddles, and you had to look for stuff. And of course you had the lovely Ada Wong, the spy love interest. And, that was a pretty cool character. But yeah, man, Resident Evil. Maybe one day we'll get a decent film out of it, that does the franchise justice, but no time soon.
My number 1 game is I have a number 1, then I have a number honorable mention number 1, and I'll explain. But my favorite game I ever played, and maybe it's weird that it's my favorite game because it's a dark, dreary, not happy game, and that is The Last of Us, man. I think it's one of the best video game experiences I've ever played. It felt like playing a movie. It was emotional. It was it hit all the right notes through the storytelling, through the gameplay, through everything you go through with Joel and Ellie throughout this game. And then of course it leads into the sequel, which is just as well done. But I like the first one a little bit more because the first one is the first time you get to experience that world and those characters and all that. And the television show adaptation is fantastic. And I can't wait for season 2. And just a side note, if people didn't see this, HBO released their what's coming in 2025, and there's about a 45-second snippet from Last of Us season 2 on there. A lot of people didn't see. And if you're a fan of the Last of Us, you'll recognize the scene because it's right out of the game. So that was kind of cool. But so I really, that's probably my favorite game of all time is The Last of Us, man. Played through it, played the DLC. It's just a great game. Played the remaster, which was really good too. And my honorable mention number 1, and I have to throw these out there, is arcade games, X-Men and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those 2 arcade games, I put so many quarters into it. I'm so glad I have the Cowabunga collection so I can play the X-Men arcade game whenever I want. I wish Konami would release something like that with the X-Men, even though I have the X-Men on my old Xbox if I wanted to boot it up and play it. But I wish Konami would release, or Marvel would release something with all those old Marvel arcade games. That would be so fucking cool.
Yeah, Avengers.
Yeah. Both the Punisher, Avengers, all those games, Spider-Man, they had a bunch of them, man.
Mm-hmm.
But X-Men and the Ninja Turtles arcade game, I put tons of cores into it. Now I can pay $10 if I wanted to and go down to Cider Arcade and play them all day if I wanted to. But I spent a lot more than $10 back in the day on those games.
Yeah, definitely, man.
But that's my honorable mentions number 1s, man, because I love those 2 games.
That's good, man. Those are good ones. I definitely remember on the NES playing the Ninja Turtles arcade.
Yep.
Man, I was much better then now, and I think as you get older, that happens.
Invest in the Cowabunga collection. You'll love it. Your kids will love it. So many great Ninja Turtle games on there.
I'm going to have to check that out. My honorable mention is something I play with the kids, and I play a lot, and it is my Star Wars game, and that is Battlefront 2. Both of them. The one on PS2 and the one that I play on Xbox. I like that you can be a clone trooper. I like going out there in battle. I like picking different characters from different, eras of Star Wars, whether you pick Leia or whether you pick Captain Phasma or, whether you pick, what you call it, Iden Versio. And I like battling my kids on it. And, Luke loves to pick Luke. And I always pick a blaster and take him out all the time. And I always use the Han Solo line.
See, I suck with blaster characters in that game.
Oh, dude, I can be.
I'm okay with Boba Fett, but I suck with most.
That's weird.
I suck with most laser characters in the game.
For some reason, I am not that great with Boba Fett, but I'm good with Iden. Of course, you have to attack from a distance. I'm really good at timing the ducks. So it's like I can anticipate when they're going to swing. And so as they're swinging at me with their lightsaber, I duck under them, come right behind them, shock them. I found this one guy today. Funny story. I didn't know you could max out your character level, because you gain levels to your character and you get a little bit more hit points, This guy, I'm going against this, it's 4-on-4, and I've got Iden, and this guy's got Han Solo, and he's shooting at my teammates, and I come up behind him. I think I'm slick. I hit him with there's this little electrode that comes out. It shocks the person. It stuns them, so you can unload a whole clip on them. Usually that whole clip is enough to take out whoever you shoot them with. So I unload one clip. I'm like, his health didn't go down. I unload another clip. His health doesn't go down. And then he kills me just by punching me. He disrespects me, comes up and just starts punching me. The melee attacks are way weak, but he took me down. My character's level 500 on Iden Versio. That's high. This one, it just said max. So I don't know how you get to that level. I guess you got to play for a decade to get there.
Maybe you just suck, Matt.
Maybe, man. It was probably some kid. It's probably some.
I haven't played. I never think I've ever played online, so I haven't paid attention to, if there's levels. I know there are Call of Duty there's levels, so it probably would make sense that the game would have it too.
There's some guys that are really good on there, and I'd say great, great, and I can take out most people, but every once in a while I find a guy that's all right, you're like a god in this game. And there's sometimes you lose to those people and they send you messages like delete this game. You dishonor it,
Yeah, those are 12-year-old boys.
Yeah.
But don't even have pubes yet and they think they're badass.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, that was good, man. Fun stuff. Reminisce on some video games and doing our top 5. So next week, man, it's it's that time of the year again where Matt, his birthday is next week, and he gets to do the birthday pick. And luckily this year, I had, for people that don't know, I have to lay some ground rules with Matt sometimes, so he doesn't pick certain films that he knows I'm going to pull my ears off and no, motherfucker. It's bad enough I had to sit through The Last Action Hero and Austin Powers for his birthday picks, but this year he picked one that's not so bad. And for any longtime listeners, that Matt's favorite actor of all time is Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so he chose to pick a I don't know if I'd call this an obscure film, but maybe a film that people might have forgotten about in the mid-90s, is fair to say. They saw it, and then when they hear it, they're like, oh, I remember that movie. But they may have forgot about it because it's came out during the time of the success of Terminator and a lot of other 90s flicks that were just very popular at the time.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of, Batman movies and Jurassic Park movies and things like that. And so people might have forgotten about this movie, but it's a good film. And that is Arnold Schwarzenegger's film Eraser.
We told you there'd be risks.
You
You also told me I would be under complete protection the entire time.
Cyrex is selling weapons technology. This disc and your testimony will help us put them and their co-conspirators behind bars. You've done a great service for your country, Miss Cullen. Now it's time to think about your safety.
He is Special Agent John Kruger.
You'll be handling your personal security.
We have a problem. The Cullen woman is still alive.
Get down! His code name is Eraser.
You're in an extremely high-risk situation, Miss Cullen. That should have been explained to you.
The only way to give his witness a future is to erase her past.
Your new name is Deborah Elliott. You know the signal.
911, I get out of the apartment.
I work alone. If anyone comes to you and claims that I've sent them, use this.
The disc, the girl, the guns. By dawn, they don't exist.
Every person who knows the truth
$52 million arms sale
is dead.
I'll make them disappear one by one.
Except the one guarded by him.
You're alive, and I'll keep you that way. Trust me.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Your friend has arrived.
I'll enjoy introducing him to you.
Eraser.
Come and get me.
So it's going to be Matt's birthday pick next week. It's been a while since I've watched this. I don't recall everything about it. I do remember liking it when I saw it. I'm pretty sure I saw it in theaters. I think I might have mentioned that to you. And so at least you did not pick certain movies because I'll tell people straight up that I have banned Fast and the Furious from ever being picked as a birthday pick. Matt knows this. and I don't even hate the Fast and Furious movies. I'm just like, I just don't want to talk about that on the show. I don't know. They're okay.
They're okay. They hold a place in pop culture, cinema history, but yeah.
Exactly. So we're going to talk Eraser next week for Matt's birthday pick, and it should be a fun one. But until then, the rebelradiopodcast.com for all your Rebel Radio needs, links to all the podcast apps that we're on, and don't forget, subscribe to my YouTube channel that me and my son are doing at Wyatt's Toy Show. I appreciate that. And again, if you screenshot that you did it, like Francisco did, I got to get his address. I owe him some stickers and buttons. I will send you some stickers and buttons, and screenshot that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I already know that and tell me that you did it because you were listening to the podcast and found out. And US only. I'm not shipping stickers and stuff to the Philippines. Sorry, but it's just but US. Again, thank you. That's it. Yeah, exactly. But thank you for listening. This has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
Until next time, remember, as always, just go there and do it.